We're here in TUS, Technological University of Shannon, and with one of the students, Karoline Uselis. And Karoline, you really caught our eye in relation to your trial that you did for your final year project, but I don't like introducing people. I always prefer people tell who they are themselves. So would you introduce people to who you are and what you're doing here?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Karoline Uselis. I am a fourth year soon-to-be graduate of microbiology here at TUS at Lone. And this is my final year project. So I took your product from Precision Microbes, and I know that it's currently FDA approved as a feed additive. And I wanted to check whether it elicits anti-inflammatory or antimicrobial effects on the skin as well. So we know that your product works on the gastrointestinal tract, but I'm curious to see how it reacts to the skin as well.
Because this was, from our perspective, sorry to cut across it was interesting because we obviously don't do anything in that space. And Professor Crochet came to me and he suggested it, and he outlined the trial. So it's going to be really interesting because there is research on lactic acid bacteria. So just to give people perspective, it's a whole different thing we haven't looked at before. So sorry, continue, Karen.
So I was just going to say the rationale behind doing this, because a lot of people might think, okay, you're taking a feed additive, why on earth would you test that on the skin? And the reason being is because we've recently discovered that there is a gut-skin axis. So there's a direct correlation of the gut to the skin. So because that relationship is established, I wanted to see whether your product does anything on the skin. I suppose that's the rationale. So I had strong hopes that you would find something because of that proven correlation.
So you were looking at, which is some really interesting things. So you were looking at the pathogen we'll call Staph aureus, even though it's opportunistic. People will be familiar with MRSA. It was multi-resistant Staph aureus. So it's a very common skin infection. But to do it, you needed just substrate that was like human skin. So will you explain to us what you actually chose for the substrate to do the test on? Is that the first place to start?
Yes, that's a good place to start. So I use an ex vivo skin model, which involves getting explants of skin that are ethically sourced to create a skin model. So for that, I used ethically sourced pig skin. And the reason why I actually use pig skin is because, as it turns out, physiologically and physiochemically, pig skin resembles human skin the most. So that way we could transpose the results from animal to human. Okay,
brilliant. So then talk about the study design. You've had some interesting outcomes when you actually looked, and this is completely new to us. I think Cormac did say that there was some interesting results, but you set up your trials with the product, and what was the impacts on Staph aureus using lactic acid bacteria?
Yes, so from using your product, I essentially did a comparative study. So I looked at how Staphylococcus aureus grew without anything added to it, and then I compared it to when I added the probiotic, so equal amounts of the probiotic to the Staph aureus, and I saw that there was a 20.6% decrease in the growth or colony-forming units of Staph aureus upon addition of the probiotic product. So there's definitely scope there. There's antimicrobial efficacy. There's potential there to investigate it further, because I only used very, very small amounts just to, due to the nature of my project and creating my own susceptibility discs, as they're called. Literally the maximum that I used was 100 microlitres, and that is a very, very small amount. But even despite that, I was seeing results. So there's definitely a lot of room for investigation there.
Well, you're an incredibly impressive student in person, and it's an incredibly impressive project. With that in mind, I suppose when you do something like this, whereas you're all here today, you're starting out, and I wish I was back young again. You're all starting on a new part of your journey. Where does this project fit into an inquisitive mind? Does it make you want to answer more questions and maybe skin, microbes, or where does the next what's the next phase look like here?
Yes, 110%. There is so much room for exploration here. It's a whole new sector, as you're saying, something that you haven't looked at before, but there's so much potential. And one of the things that I would highly recommend is analyzing the skin microbiome before and after the addition of the probiotic. Because I was just using one bacteria here to test your probiotic against. But we're not really seeing the bigger picture as to how your probiotic is exactly influencing the skin microbiome. There is so much bacteria that is present. There are so many different types, and it would just be amazing to learn how your product influences the good or the bad bacteria, those kind of relationships between all the different bacteria and your probiotic.
Brilliant, Karoline, it's so nice to have met you today. You're incredibly impressive, and I really appreciate the work you've done. And you've asked the question, which is going to lead us to ask more questions again. And that's the main thing. So congratulations on your hard work, and well done.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.